Welcome back everyone. In this tutorial we will be working with the details view in our website. In the last tutorial, we showed a list view of our client data on our website. In this tutorial, we will display the details of a specific client from that list view. So in the last tutorial we worked on this list view. Now we will see how to click on a specific data from this list view and see the details info of the clicked client. You all have already understood that for a new page we have to do three things. First we have to define the URL, then define a function in the views file and finally create an HTML page, right? So now I'm going to define a URL for our details view page. For my convenience, I'm copying the previous URL statement. So here, let's change the register text to client. And then to pass an integer value inside angle brackets with a / right int::pk. Here pk stands for primary key. Now similarly write client for views. And finally, write name equals client. So, the URL statement we wrote here will actually represent something like localhost:8000. Then, /client/id. Here ID is basically the client primary key. So this is exactly how the URL will be called in the browser. Now let's define a function called client in the views.py file. So let's create a function called client. Okay, type def client. Now, as usual, pass the request parameters in parentheses along with the primary key pk. We need to pass this primary key because we will retrieve the details info of a specific client. If you go to your URLs file, you will see that I have passed pk as an integer value here. So since we will only show client details to users who are already logged in, that's why we will use an if statement to check the user's login authentication status. So type if request.user.is_authenticated. If it is an authenticated user, we will show that user the data of a specific client on our details page. If you want to implement this kind of logic, it's a good idea to get into the habit of writing some comments. I encourage everyone to write comments. These comments are very useful when projects become very large and complex and many developers are involved. Now let's declare a variable called client_record. And assign a specific client ID from the client object. Here, by ID we mean the client's primary key. Notice here that we have defined object.get in our client function. And I defined object.alt inside the home function. So this object.all basically retrieves all the client data from the database as objects. And here object.get is basically retrieving data from a specific client.